My seminar today is about regular rules enforcement level. As most of you know, I'm the guy in charge of tournament operations at regular, which means that I am the author and keeper and holder of the flame for I think we estimate that high 90% of events worldwide are run at regular rules enforcement level. So it's a lot of stuff, and it's all encapsulated in my 2-page document, Judging a Regular Rel, which I'm sure you've all read.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So the two main points I want to kind of drive home to you today are fun and fair. Some of you might have seen posts online signed off with KIF, which just stands for Keep It Fun, Keep It Fair. We want these events to encourage players to come back. We want you guys to use these events to grow your communities, to have a place where people like to come and play cards. Because at the end of the day, Magic's a card game, right? Players should be having fun, we should be having fun. Now, to that end, I know a few of you have been concerned with the jar being only 2 pages long, that it doesn't cover everything. Well, it doesn't cover everything. Now, mind my spelling here. So consistency is something that some people were concerned got thrown out with the bathwater. With the jar being as open-ended as it is, there are going to be times when you're going to make a ruling that's going to be different to the way I would make a ruling. And the next judge along might make an even different ruling. And that's okay. At the end of the day, being a little bit different, not having exactly the same ruling made at every F&M across the world, that's okay. We're willing to sacrifice a little bit of consistency for that fun and fair environment. So long as everyone is having fun, and that includes you, right? Don't forget that judging is supposed to be fun. Judging is not serious business. Judging is something we do for a hobby. It's something that we do because we love the game, I presume. Who does it for the product? Kevin, yeah, probably true. So we are going to lose some consistency. There will still be official answers to things whenever possible. I will do my best when you guys post something online and go, hey James, what do I do in this situation? And I'll do my best, but often, like you might have seen me recently, what I'll be doing is offering up a few alternatives. Because I wasn't there. I don't know what extraneous circumstances you have. I don't know what history you have with your player. Just as a quick example, I had last week a player call me over because so you're all playing me, okay? I Grasp of Phantasm's your guy, and instead of putting it back on top of your library, you put it into your hand as your only card. Then you untap, you draw a card for your turn, you don't do anything else, and you pass back to me. And I'm like, cool. I untap, I draw, and then I flash back Grasp of Phantasms on another one of your guys. And then go, you got 2 cards. Did you put the other guy back on top? And I'm like, nope. So, we've got options here. The options as I see them are, oh well, play on. Put the second guy on top of the library where it's supposed to be, and tut-tut at everyone. And the other option would be, try and rewind. Nothing else happened. So put the second guy back on the battlefield, rewind the card draw. We know which card's supposed to be drawn, so we put that back on top of the library, then we put the card in hand back on top of the library. Anyway, it becomes a bit of a mess.
Probably.
Yeah, what would you do?
Just fix, I know which card's supposed to be there, just fix the cards in hand.
Right, so put the card that was supposed to be drawn.
No, put the card that was supposed to be drawn is the one that you grasp.
Yep.
That stays in his hand, the other one goes back on top of his library.
Right, and then we bury it under the card that's getting grasped the second time?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's lots of options. Now, I'm not saying any of those are right or wrong, and you guys are going to make different rulings, and that's okay, because the thing I've got to keep going back to, this is basically our canonical point at the moment. Players in your region are not the same as players in my region, except if you're Fabian, because then you're from my region. And even then, like going to different stores in the same town, players may want different things. Some of the big bugbears we've had recently are deck lists, right? At regular rules enforcement level, I'm not going to mandate that you have to use deck lists. But I'm also not going to mandate that you have to not use deck lists. So apologies to the English second language people for my double negative. But if you want to register card pools at sealed events, at your pre-releases, if no one has had access to any of these cards before, and you want to register card pools because it will make your players feel more comfortable and have more fun and think it's a more fair event, do it. Just do it. Make your players happy. One thing I touched on recently with Alfonso was about competitive behaviour. He thinks that regular is the death of competitive behaviour, and I disagree. I think we still get guys at regular who are rules lawyers. They're missing the point, but you know, that's how they have fun. And again, if that's how they have fun, then we should do what we can to cater to that. We're not going to put up with rules lawyering, but we're going to let them play the game that they want to play. And we're going to help the guy that they're rules lawyering and just, you know, say, guys, come on.
Hi, Ollie Bird from Dublin. Just to drill into that a bit more, one thing I found is to do with the consistency aspect is that you often end up in a position where consistency means giving the same thing to the same set of players. But it doesn't mean that you have to treat all players, even in the same event, the same way.
Sure.
Like when you have a match between two competitive players, you can treat that differently to when you have a match between one competitive player or two
that's a fine point.
two casual players.
And certainly something I've found too is when you get competitive players playing against Johnny No Idea, and the competitive player is trying to hold the other guy to a higher standard, and then immediately plays sloppily himself. You just turn around and you go, just trying to think who it was. It was Barrett. It's one of my local players. I'm like, Baz, if you want to hold him to that standard, you've got to hold yourself to that standard as well, right? Okay, these are tied together. Penalties and infractions. Recently we had a post, the esteemed Uncle Ricardo posted to the list to say, do we even give game losses at regular anymore? Because a few people still do. A few people, as recently as a few months ago, I had a guy from Sydney say, so I was giving this guy a game loss for a deck registration error at F&M. Yeah, exactly. So I was pretty sad, and so we talked them all through it. So you guys are obviously, I presume most of you are quite familiar with the IPG. The jar in a vacuum is not supposed to reference the IPG. It's not supposed to be used with knowledge of the IPG because it's not directly aimed at you guys. Okay? The 95+% of events that are being run at regular, the vast majority of those are being run without a certified judge. Those are the guys that we want to read the jar and just go, oh, page and a half, sweet. Same guy does it again in the same game, and then again in the next game, and again in the next match, and it's actually starting to kind of impact your event. There's a few more things you can do. At the beginning of this seminar, I asked who had breakfast, and then got you all to raise your hands, and then I went, oh, really disappointed, really disappointed. There's something you can use at your events, okay? You can use normal social interactions to make people correct behaviour. I've written down humour and ostracism. I've gotten rid of a cheat from my local community by refusing to play Magic against him. We get paired up against him, and I just go, dude, I'm going to scoop. I'm not even going to play you. I'm not interested in playing you. I'm not really interested in having him around. So that can be a powerful tool for getting rid of some people. If you need to have a really good reason for getting rid of them. It's better to retrain them. It's better to take them outside at the beginning of the event and say, guy, listen, I know we've had our twos and fro's before. I know I've kicked you out of a few events. Really, really like to encourage you not to engage in that kind of behaviour today. And of course, just humour. When the same guy is at the end of the match in extra turns again, there's only 12 guys in your event and everyone knows each other. It's like, we got this local guy, I was saying this to Fabian earlier. Serge, it's you at extra turns again. Wow, this keeps happening, man. And he will get embarrassed and go, you can avoid this. You can play a bit faster, and everyone will be happier. And the other 11 guys in the room laugh, and Serge feels a bit bad for himself, and maybe thinks about that next time he's umming and ahhing over a play. Like there's some other stuff we can do. If none of that works, give the guy a game loss. Like the jar has provision for you to give game losses for repeated infractions in 2 instances. One is repeated stuff, and one where you've specifically told them not to do something again. Stuff like talking during a draft. You know, another white bomb, you guys are all numpties. Sweet! I always hear it. It's usually when I'm shipping cards to him though. And then, you know, pack 3 opens and, look, another white bomb, how good am I? This is the best draft ever. Just tell the guy, you know, try and use some of those other tools first, but then get to him and just go, listen, you know, at this point I'm forced to give you a harsher penalty because you're impacting them, etc., etc. I'll just write my next one up while I'm doing this. So there's one more penalty, of course, that exists at regular rules enforcement level, which is disqualification. If you have a player cheating in your event, don't give them a caution for cheating and tell them not to do it again. Right? That doesn't help anyone. Disqualify them. Explain that their behaviour is a serious problem, not serious business, but a serious problem. And it's not to be tolerated. You won't have it in your store, you won't have it in your event. You won't put up with it, and you're removing that player from the event. If you're also the TO, you could eject them from the premises if you feel that that's appropriate. Or you can let them hang around and play. Hang around and watch, rather. Depending on what you feel is appropriate. Again, with the shades of penalty. Fabian was telling me about GP San Diego. Was it, I'm disqualifying you, but I know you didn't really mean it, so here's some money from my own pocket to go and play in a side event.
That's not quite correct.
Okay. Anyway,
that's definitely not correct.
Cool. So anyway, that's the kind of thing though that a TO can do, is say, I'm going to disqualify you from my event, however I'm also going to refund your entry fee because it's like round 1 in a pre-release and you were mana weaving. Right? So I'm going to DQ you, but you get to keep all your packs, and I'm going to give you half price entry to the next flight. You know better now. You know, I'm sorry you're crying, you have some tissues. Back to official answers and consistency again. With penalties, with DQs, if you feel that this player is someone that we shouldn't have in our game, then by all means put in a DQ investigation. Again, I'm not going to mandate that every DQ needs to have a disqualification investigation, because again, so many of these players, judges and TOs aren't certified judges. They're not going to be familiar with the judge program. The investigations tab is a little bit unwieldy. But all of you guys, I expect you to be able to make a choice about, you know, this guy punched someone else out. Not only am I going to disqualify them and kick them out of my store, I'm going to call my WPN rep now and say, right, we need to put in an investigation. How do I do this? So at the end of the jar, it says contact your WPN representative. We're judges, but we're also players. We're also TOs, a lot. We might have other roles. Chaplain, you know, shoulder to cry on. Well, you know, who knows? In your local community, it's going to be different for you. But I want to encourage you all, and I want you all to take this message back to your environments. You can help your players play Magic, okay? It's okay at certain points. During the pre-release, when the dude says, hey, is this card any good? You're allowed to go give your opinion, okay? You're allowed to go judge hat off, player hat on. I don't know, that's a 6-cost 1/1. Probably not. We had a situation last week during the draft. Guys had pick 7, and he calls me over and he goes, so is red blue a good strategy to be drafting? And I said, dude, sorry, during the draft, I can't help you. But look, as soon as you finish drafting your 42, call me over, we'll have a look at your curve. All right? So that's all fine. Just, you've got to pick and choose your times. Player going, is this the play I should be making? You know, which should I be casting now? It's like, you've got to make your own choices. There's a line in the jar about how important it is to let players make their own choices. But sometimes they're going to be really stuck. And sometimes customer service is better served by you going, you know what, don't play that 6-cost 1/1. It's just, you're not going to curve out, you know. Worm correlation. So yeah, by all means, if you are able to offer everyone the service, do it. If it's a service over being a jerk, then do it. Like, just be nice. Help your players. Yeah. So there you go.